So that's started, and welcome everyone. So this morning, the primary theme is going to be that we have a number of graduate students and students that are upper class students in various majors, and you get to spend time talking to them and asking questions you have about those particular majors and how it all works. So we'll go ahead and get started. So I'm going to show my slides, and I'll show you what we're going to cover and how we're going to do that. Okay, that should now be visible. So first off, I asked Alice to come in because as you decide what major to go into, you need to work with her in terms of changing your major. So she will explain what that process is and how she fits in. Then we're going to talk very briefly about project stage 3 and the meetings you're going to be having. We'll talk briefly about MATLAB and what we're starting to do there. And then we'll break into the different breakout rooms, and you'll have time to talk about the different majors, and then we'll come back right at the end. So what I asked, this was about a week and a half ago, I asked each of you with an iClicker question, what best describes your current situation in terms of whether you've already declared your major, whether you're pretty certain of what you want to declare, if you need more info, but you think you'll get there by the end of October, or if you're totally unsure. So I want to ask that same iClicker question again and see what progress we've made. So go ahead and turn on your iClickers, and I will start the polling. And then you can go ahead and tell me this time which of those categories you fit into, whether you've already declared your major, whether you're pretty certain of what you will declare, if you need more info but feel comfortable that you can decide, or if you're still totally unsure. So go ahead and let me know where things are, and then I'll show you, I'll describe to you what the comparison is now versus last time. So I've got about 32 responses so far. So just waiting for everyone's to come in, and then we'll take a look at that. So yeah, we'll give you just another minute here. I've got 37 responses so far. And then I don't know if I can share the graph or not. Otherwise, I'll talk you through what it looks like and how it's different from the last time. So we're at 39. I'll give just a little bit more time, and we'll go and look at those results. Okay, so let's, I'm going to flip back to the data from the last time. And then I'll tell you how that has changed. So now we have 3 students instead of 1 who've declared their major. There's 16 students that are pretty certain. And the total number of students who are totally unsure went down from 11 to 4, and there's 17 that are in category C. So we're making some progress, and we've still got a number of things that we want to do, and I want to encourage you to continue to explore, and we'll try to provide as much resource as we can for you to do that as well. Okay, so that's really what we wanted to do there. Next, let's move on to turning it over to Alice. And Alice, why don't you go ahead and explain what happens if you're ready to make a move?
Hi, everybody. I'm Alice Workmeister, the academic advisor for most of you in Engineering Open Option. And I am here for you. So the goal, as you know, as Bert has said multiple times, is to declare soon, hopefully by the end of October, so that you can start meeting with different people. And by the end of October, hopefully, you will meet with me. So you can email me or schedule an appointment, and I'm going to show you how you can do that in a second. But I am working from home, so all of it will be virtual, and you can kind of look at my calendar and choose a time that works for you. If you still don't know what major you want, but you want to chat about it, what you're interested in, goals, stuff like that, then you can also make a meeting with me. I would rather see you and chat with you, even if you don't know what you quite want yet.
My dad took me to the hospital.
Hey, Bert, can you say the next one?
Oh, yes.
I might always hear.
There we go.
And then if you're not muted, if you don't mind doing that.
Yeah,
I
please.
also want, oh, sorry, what?
No, go ahead.
I want to also explain probation. So if you get less than a 2.0 GPA overall, you are on probation. And
Nice.
you get 2 semesters of being on probation. So that's probation 1.
If I get a GPA
2.
under 2.
Hey, Rachel.
Oh, sorry.
Didn't want to call you out, but also, so you have probation 1, 2, and then you're academically dismissed. And if you are academically dismissed, there are some options as far as taking time off or appealing, stuff like that. But I want to say that some scholarships and grants and stuff like that require you to not be on probation. So you want to really make sure, especially if you have financial aid, that you don't get on probation and you keep it above that 2.0. If you get less than a 1.0 this first semester, there are different rules essentially. This is the only time that this will come into play is your first semester at CSU. And essentially CSU gives you a smaller amount of time before you're academically dismissed, because studies show that folks who get less than a 1.0 GPA, it's just kind of like wasting your time and money, because oftentimes you won't graduate in 4 or 5 years, that sort of thing. So I have seen people come back strong and get over a 2.0 that second semester. So they're off this second section that I'm talking about. And people are most successful if they get less than a 1.0 GPA their first semester, to take a little time off, figure out really what you want to do, and then you can start fresh if you take a little time off. So those are the 2 things with probation. It's regular probation if you're less than a 2.0, and then there's this special less than a 1.0 your first semester. If you, so you have less time to kind of make it up. Does anybody have questions on probation? If this is something that you're concerned about, we can definitely talk about it during a meeting one-on-one. But if you have like a general question, feel free to pop in. Cool. Bert, can you say the next slide, please?
Here you go.
Okay, so as I kind of mentioned, you cannot graduate with open option. You do need to choose a major, and the goal is in the next month to choose one, because you want to get started on your new major. Your new major will have an introductory class that's specific to that major, kind of like Engineering 101 is for open option students. You want to get started because that intro class is going to be a prerequisite to the next class, and on and on. And so it really doesn't help to just push it off. It's also helpful to meet with an advisor earlier rather than later, which is why we're saying this is the sweet spot of October, because our schedules do fill up. So to declare your major, you're going to talk to me, email me, or schedule an appointment. And then you will get a new advisor. So I am your open option friend, but depending on what major you go into, you will have a new advisor, and I'll get you connected with them. Will you click to the next one, Bert?
Oh, wrong way.
I feel like maybe, okay, sweet. So registration for next semester is semi coming up. If you are in honors or you're an athlete, depending on how much college credit you have, you may be earlier than this, but for most of you, your registration time will start December 2nd. And as you meet with me, I will give you your exact time as well as date. You can also find it on RamWeb if you want. Your registration is just like orientation was. It looks the same every year. So you don't it's not like a new thing. You will be able to just go back in and do what you did last time. And we will help you know what classes to take. It's not just like you're flying by the seat of your pants and picking whatever classes you choose. Like, we will help you with that. You must meet with me or another advisor. So I'm gonna be your first contact, but there's a code that you need before you can register. So if we chat today and you know what major you want and that sort of thing, then I would be able to give you your code. You still can't register until your assigned date, but you need your code as well. So don't say like, okay, I'll just sign up on, or I will register for classes December 3rd, but try and meet with Alice on December 4th, because you won't have the code, you won't be able to register. Please sign up for a time as soon as you can. If you pop down to where my signature line is, so you get emails from me probably all the time. And that last line that says EGOP, that's open option. And then I also have another major that I advise for. The advising appointment link, you just click on that. You're able to look at my schedule, see what time's available, and get on my schedule depending on, whatever is helpful to you. And then I will follow up with an email with a link so that we can meet virtually. It would be helpful if you could write down what questions you have. That's just like in general, whenever you're meeting with someone. I know that you come up with questions and then you forget them when you're on the spot. I definitely do that. I will be asking you what major you want to declare. So that is going to be maybe brainstorm before you meet with me. And then if you're not sure, that's totally fine. But I will ask you, like, do you have a couple that you're in between and that sort of thing. The link right below my signature is the link that is if you click on that. But now you have 2 places that you can find it. And then you all should be getting my weekly email on Mondays, and that shares my drop-in hours and how to contact me. I'm not going to give out codes because I would rather meet with you one-on-one for a full half hour. But if you just want a quick stop in, essentially no one's used my drop-in hours yet, so feel free. I think that might be my last slide. Bert, is there another one?
Yeah, that's your last slide. So
Sweet.
does anyone have any questions before Alice leaves? I think you're set. Thanks so much.
Alrighty. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, so next, what we want to do is we want to talk about project stage 3, and Ellie's going to fill you in on that.
Yeah, so just a reminder, you're welcome to put questions in the chat. I have the window pulled up on my screen. And then for stage 3, meetings start today. I think the earliest appointment is at 2. And what we're going to go through in this meeting is you're first going to tell me which problem did you wind up choosing out of the 2 that you've been researching. And then you're going to show me your specifications, and we're going to talk about how to improve them even more, make sure they're really like just stellar specifications. And then we'll go through your solution ideas on how to solve the problem that you picked. And you're going to have 3 ideas, and you're going to be judging those ideas. You're going to be grading them with your specifications. So if you think of your specifications as like a grading rubric excuse me, if you think of it as a grading rubric where each specification would get a letter grade, you could say design idea 1 would get an A, design idea 2 would get a B, design idea would get a C based on my specifications. And so that's where we're going towards. And I have a question which says, are we doing solutions just for the one problem or both? You are picking one problem. So if you picked one catastrophic event and one COVID topic, you would have to pick either the catastrophic one or the COVID one for the rest of the project. Hopefully that helps. And then for that topic, you would have 3 solutions for that idea. And then after you show me what your 3 general ideas are, we're going to talk a little bit more specifically about the design and cost analyses. And we're going to spend a lot of time looking at our problem statements because those are really tricky to get just right. And we're going to talk about how we can improve those as well. And we'll talk about your cost analyses as well. And then we'll wrap it up with any remaining questions you will have. And so that's what the general layout is for the projects. And so now let's talk a little bit about, oh, one more question. Thank you. Do we need to have sources or write down sources for our cost analysis? I believe you will want sources. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, you're going to need sources because otherwise, how will we know that you got it from a reliable place?
Yep. All right. Any more questions? This is great having the chat window open. All right. I think we're good. I don't see any new questions coming in. So let's move on to introducing MATLAB. And before I talk about MATLAB, I want to talk about my own coding experience because in atmospheric science, oh, we have one more question that just came in. Thank you, Kimberly. Do we need to add sources to the table like you did for stage 2? I believe you will want to.
Yeah, just do it the same place.
Yep. Yeah, you'll want to keep your references consistent. Yeah, thank you for that question. So going back to my early days of college, when I was a freshman, I did not come into college knowing how to code at all. I knew what Linux was because I had used it to open LibreOffice in high school, but that was my extent of Linux. And so freshman years, I came in and we had to learn how to use a terminal window, which I don't think you need to do for this class, but you'll probably see it at some point in your career here. And so we had to learn all these terminology, how to go from one folder to the other without clicking it. You had to type things. And so that was my freshman year, was learning how to just do that. And I actually didn't code until my junior year. And when we had our speaker from the oil plant or the petroleum place, he was talking about how he started with Fortran 77. That's actually what I started with too, even though it was not 1977 when I was a junior in college. It's a very basic language. It is a direct transport from punch cards. And so you have to count your spaces and you can do very limited things. And so that was my first half of coding. And then what I did was the second half of that class was I learned Python, which is very similar to MATLAB. And so let's talk about MATLAB since that's an even better choice for engineers than Python. And so next part. And so MATLAB is a programming language, and the things that make it really attractive for engineers is one, you can do a lot more things with it, and I'll show an example of that in a slide or two. And it's actually built from the ground up with engineers in mind. All of the directions and the help are framed towards, oh, this is what an engineer would be thinking. And so it's really designed for you. And that should make it a lot easier to pick up than other alternatives. And then it's also an industry standard. When you graduate, you're probably going to continue using it. And even if you don't use it in your future jobs, MATLAB is very similar to other languages. I brought up Python. There's only very minor differences between the two at this point. And a lot of it's just syntax, and you just Google, like, what is the difference in how I write an exponent in MATLAB versus another language? All the basics leading up to that point will be the same. And so you're going to start with something that's built for you, and you can use it as a launching point for more languages in the future, because that's where today's world is. We have lots of computer languages. And so next slide. And so I want to talk a little bit more about why use MATLAB over Excel. Maybe you're happy with Excel. You're like, why do we even need anything else? Like, I can do math with Excel. Well, the example that I always like to think about, because I'm a weather person, is imagine you have lots of temperature data. We talked about climate change, and that's years and years and years, centuries of temperature data. Now imagine you had those years and years and years at every single little shape on this globe that I put in here. These are all hexagons, and I think there's 12 pentagons in there. And imagine you had like hundreds of temperature points, thousands of temperature data points at each of those little shapes on the globe. That would be an awful Excel table. Like imagine just trying to select all of that data just to convert it from Fahrenheit to Celsius. That would be a nightmare. You'd have to like select everything and take like 10 minutes just to select it. You would have to open up a new page, do like the copy paste, or like enter your formula, copy paste it into there. It would be a nightmare. And you may have to fuss with dollar signs if your grid boxes are not cooperating, and just no thank you. In MATLAB, all you have to do is click. All you have to do in MATLAB is you have a file with all of your temperature data. You read that data into MATLAB, call it Fahrenheit, and then all you have to do is type the formula from Celsius to Fahrenheit, click run, and then boom, all of your Fahrenheit temperatures are right there converted into a Celsius variable, which we will talk more about technical things like that next week. This is just an introduction for why coding can be so much nicer, so much easier. It can save a lot of headaches. And so next slide. And then there's also just things that you can do with MATLAB that you just can't do in Excel. And to give an example, this is my current research. I am not going to try to explain the science because there's some concepts in there you have never heard of. But I want you to take a look at the plots, and I want you to see some of the features that are on there. I made these in Python, but again, that's very similar to MATLAB. And you can see that I have an angle called phi on there, and I have like nice little labels for everything because I'm defining a tangent, which yes, you do still need trig in grad school if you go that route. And then you can see that I have a nice beautiful histogram where the colors match up with the reference angles in the plot next to it. You can see all these nice pretty things. You can see that on the histogram, I have numbers on the left side of the plot and numbers on the right side of the plot that are equivalent conversions. You can't do that in Excel. And then you can also make 3D plots with scatter points, and you can shade those points based on a number of interest. And in my plot, I'm shading it based on where it is along the bold black line in there. And you can do all these really cool things. This is just an example. I didn't even put maps on here, like that globe on the previous slide. You can do that in MATLAB as well. There are so many cool things you can do with coding, and you are going to be at the tip of the iceberg. And so next slide. And so I have some final advice before we move on to our groups. Immediately you'll see the rubber duckies on there. I'll get to that in a second. But before I get there, I want you to remember to be kind to yourself. You are learning a new language. You are learning a new way of thinking. You're going to get very familiar with the concept, if this, then this happens. If this is true, then do this. You're going to get very used to thinking in this logical manner that you may not be familiar with, and you have to figure out how to put that logic that's in your mind onto code, and you have to learn the syntax as well. This is a process that takes a long time, and it's going to be frustrating at times, but when you click run and it works, it is amazing. Like, you know how our speaker last class was talking about how the highs are amazing and the lows are super awful. Coding is much the same way. When your code runs, it's like, hallelujah, you dance around and it's amazing. Live for those moments and then just push through the rest. And then my other advice is to remember that computers are dumb. They can't interpret anything. If you have so much as a comma out of place, the computer is going to be like, oh no, what do I do? It's going to give you an error message. The error message might be confusing, but it's going to be like, what happened? This isn't what I was expecting. And it could be something as silly as what I put here, cosine with a 0 instead of a letter O. Like, you got to look for little tiny details like that as you're trying to get your code working. And finally, as you're trying to find these little mistakes, I say use the rubber ducky method. And this is something I learned in my undergrad. The top picture is actually from the classroom that I learned to code in. We called it the weather lab because it was a computer lab in the meteorology department. We're nerds. But the story behind the ducks is one day a duck appeared, and then next week more ducks appeared. And then people would go on vacation. They would come back with more fancy rubber ducks. And what you do with these ducks is, I have an example right here. This is my ugly duck. Or if you're girly, you can have ballerina duck. And what you do is you take your duck to your code and you're like, duck, listen to what my code is doing. Tell me what's wrong, duck. And so you go line by line by line and you're like, okay, this line is supposed to do this. Does it do this? Yes. Next line. Okay, this is what this line says. Is it what it's supposed to say? Yes. And you just keep doing that line by line by line by line. And then as you're going through it, you're going to be like, wait a second. I have 2 parentheses here. That should only be 1. And you're going to be like, thanks, duck. Mission accomplished. And unfortunately, not all ducks are equal, apparently. The duck that was under the spoon was in timeout because it didn't catch their error. So you can be silly with your ducks. And it doesn't have to be a duck, but they're very cute and they don't have judgmental faces. They're always just a little bit of fun as you're doing coding. And then as you can see, we really embraced it even after we graduated. One of my friends, Abby, she has her own ducks and you can see her coding in Python. And in the front is something we call a Jupyter notebook. In the back, you can see terminal windows. And at the bottom, you can see her little rubber duckies that help her when she gets stuck. And so as you're learning to code, keep this advice in mind. And with that, we will move on to introducing the groups.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Ellie. And so starting next Monday, bring your laptops. You don't have to bring a duck, but if you have a duck, you can certainly do that. And we'll be doing some things in class as well so that you get as much practical experience as you can. So now we're going to move to our groups. And I have assigned you to rooms based on what you put in the homework last night as the first place you want to go. There's one substitution, which is Jasmine Nayad is going to be covering chemical and biological engineering, and her background is also biomedical engineering. So she has a lot of understanding of those fields. And I noticed that only 2 students signed up for that particular breakout room. You do have the ability during the time that we will have for you to move from one room to the other. So if any of you also want to visit that room, what I can tell you is Jasmine actually has been working with me on coronavirus testing. So for any of you that are working on COVID-related projects, you may also find it interesting to pop in there and ask her how some of what she's been doing in biomedical engineering and in chemical and biological engineering relates to those fields. So with that, let me just describe, we have all of our guests here and they are ready to introduce themselves. They will do that in their rooms. My recommendation is that each of you introduce yourselves at the beginning, talk about what you're interested in learning about. Our guests will introduce themselves as well, and then they will talk about the work in their field, why they chose this major, and primarily they're there to answer questions. We're at about 11:29 now. We need about a minute or 2 at the end. So you've got about 20 minutes to spend in your room, and I will send you now. And any of you, when you want to switch rooms, you pop out of your room. I will be there, and then I can put you in a different room. So here you go. So Lucas and Vignesh, any problems? I think I have you in the right rooms. Yeah, you should be able to go. You should see something on your screen that just asks for permission to go. And Jack and Jane, I didn't get homework from you last night, so I don't know what rooms to put you into. So if you unmute yourself, tell me.
I would
what
like to go
room
with Jasmine.
Okay, Jane, I'll put you in with Jasmine. Whoops. Let me,
Should I go with Matthew, please?
okay, just a second. I gotta work out how to move you. Ah, here it is. Okay. No.
Hi, Bert.
Hi, Gunjan.
I think I by mistake joined room 2. I'm supposed to join room 3.
Ah, let me fix that really easily.
Okay.
There you go. Okay, let's see what's causing me not to be able to move the two of you. Ah, here we go. Okay, good. I found you. All right, Jane, here you go. And Jack, where would you like to go? Just remind me.
Should I go with the civil engineering, please?
Okay, civil is, all right, you're going to go to room 4. Okay, you should be good. Gunjan, any problems?
I'm still here.
I thought I sent you. Yeah, you should have something where you can click something and go there. You should have something on your screen that allows you to go into a room. Do you have like breakout rooms or something that looks like that at the bottom?
Yes. Okay.
Click that. It should allow you to go. All right, it worked. Ellie, would you like to go anywhere?
I'm not sure where I would be helpful.
It would be just to listen in and say, you know, just to, and you're welcome to do that, just like you've done in the other situations, where you can just pop in, see what's happening, how it works. You want me just to randomly send you to 1, and then you can go to 2, 3, 4, and 5?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, here you go. Hey, how was that?
They're doing introductions. It was really nice.
Good.
Can
Good.
I be put in the engine one? The mechanical engine one?
You sure can. Where? Okay, let me go find you.
I was in the environmental engineering one.
Yeah, they're
Great.
just getting started talking about engines. So perfect timing.
There you go.
Thank you.
So Ellie, you want to go to room 2?
Sure.
Okay. Okay. You ready for room 3?
Yeah, and I think Vignesh just has 2 computers.
He
'Cause
does.
he was
He does.
was talking.
That's I assigned them both. And I think what he did is he just put that together as a backup.
Mhm.
So so that's I do that sometimes too. Here you go.
All right.
Hi, that one must have been interesting.
And they were doing introductions and saying which majors they were interested or why they were interested in electrical. So I
Cool.
wanted to listen to that.
All right, let's send you to room 4.
It's nice seeing that there's a good mix that are interested in electrical. It's a lot more than the survey.
Yeah, it's good, and I'm glad we got really good coverage there with the 2 GTFs. All right, you're ready to go. Hi, Max.
Hey, Bert, can you put me in the civil engineering breakout room?
Yeah, where were you before?
The environmental.
Oh, yeah, that's easy. There you go.
Thank you.
Okay, I just closed all the rooms. So everyone should be coming back here, and they probably wish they'd had more time.
Yeah, civil was still doing introductions because Matt would respond to each of their personal interests before they move on.
That's not bad. Yeah, the fact that nobody's jumping back in means that they really wish they'd had more time. So
Yeah.
and that's okay. We can do this again. Okay, welcome back. We'll wait for everyone to get back, and then we'll cover a couple more things and we'll be done for today.
I gotta say, I'm sorry to Diana. We cut off right before she was going to introduce herself. I apologize.
Well,
we tried to get everybody.
Yeah, so one of my comments is on the homework that you're doing this weekend, I ask a question, which is identify one thing you learned from the sessions, but in that, when you answer that question, you can also give more general comments on whether you'd like to do more things like this, because we want to adapt to what's going to work most effectively for each of you in terms of learning about the different majors and how, so that you could get your questions answered and can make the best decision you possibly can. So just to wrap up, I want to share just a couple of one slide that shows what we're going to be doing next in class. So you have a homework assignment that's due this weekend. That is, and also today and Monday, you will be doing your stage 3 reviews with Ellie and one of the learning assistants. And then you have on Monday, you'll need to bring your laptop because we're actually going to be doing some practicing with MATLAB in class as well. And there's a homework assignment that's associated with that that's due Sunday night, which introduces what we're going to be doing in terms of access to clean water, as well as building on some of the things that you did on the homework assignment that you did last night on MATLAB. So we're going to be continuing to build in that regard. Then Tuesday night, your project stage 3 is due, and there's no other homework due that night. Thursday, we'll continue covering more on MATLAB and water. And then project stage 4, we will start that next Friday. So next Monday and Wednesday will be normal face-to-face in class. And next Friday will be on Zoom again because you'll have time to work in your groups. So that's it for today's class. If any of you have any questions, feel free to stay on. Otherwise, you can go ahead and log off now, and we'll see you on Monday. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, Bart. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I think that all worked well.
Thanks.
Bye, Cody.
I had a quick question, actually.
Yeah, okay, good time to ask it.
It's not really about what we did today. I mean, my group talked a little bit about different internships and stuff like that. But I was just wondering, like, so back in my hometown, which is where I'm going to be this summer, there's not really, from what I've seen, any like internship programs already set up. So can you like reach out to businesses that don't have those already set up and ask about it? And if so, how would I go about doing that?
The answer is yes. The person to ask who knows at least as much as me, because she was able to accomplish it, was Isabel.
Okay.
Isabel is doing that next semester. So ask her the steps she went through, and I think that will be very helpful.
Awesome. All right, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Bye. And thanks to all of you as well. Any comments any of you have that that should be shared or things? I got the impression this worked well.
Yeah, I think it worked really well. I noticed that when I said that for the reasons that I like civil engineering, they all kind of repeated the same reasons. I didn't want them to do that, but they ended up doing that. But no, it was good. A lot of people enjoyed the outside, inside dynamic, what civil engineering can bring. And yeah, they were all about that. I know Ben left his email in the chat. Bert and Ellie, I appreciate you inviting me here. I can leave my email in the chat. I actually recommended my students contact if they had more questions about civil engineering to even reach out to Neil Grigg, who is a prominent professor on the civil side. But yeah, it all went well. Thank you for the invite, Bert, Ellie.
Yeah, I appreciate all of your spending the time with these students. And do any of the rest of you have concerns about me sharing your emails?
No, go ahead and
No.
and yeah, if people respond, I'll respond back to them. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, please share.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great. I think you will get some questions, and I'd love to be able to send students in different directions, because you're much closer to this stuff than I am. You know, I know my field, but you know your fields, and I really appreciate it.
Okay.
Hey, a quick thing, Bert, like the time that we were given, I think they were not able to ask me as many questions as possible. They were quite interested, like all the 15 people who were there in the room, they were quite interested in what we were doing and what they want to do. Will we have something like this the next one more time, or is that the only one that they have?
So here's my thinking. I want to see the comments that I get back. That's why I emphasize that at the end. And when I see those comments, I have a feeling that there's going to be interest in doing this again. And so
I think so.
We might pick a time about 2 weeks from now to do another session like this.
Yeah, I think that really helps them to understand what things are, and they were quite interested in knowing more and more. So I was doing most of the talking, and I saw that okay, the time is up, and I have almost no time for questions to take from them, which I think they were very interested to ask me, but there was no time for any questions there.
Yeah, and you had a large group, and so that made it more difficult too.
I'll have to repeat what Sadesh said. I just introduced myself, and that was 3 minutes, and I thought, oh shoot, I better go around and get everybody else's. And then we were done. I got to the last person, and she, snapped off, and we were out of the breakout room. So I didn't get any questions really. We just talked about civil engineering. It still went very well, but yeah, I feel bad. I didn't answer individual questions.
So let's if you guys are willing to help again, I'd love to have you.
Yeah, I will love to. Yeah, it was a good conversation. Yeah, same.
Great. Well, I think we got a good format, and we'll run it again.
Perfect.
All right. Take care. Bye, y'all.
See you. Bye.
Bye.